6-0.
I'll second it. I think what we did earlier, we suspended it. We suspended the rules.
Right. We were supposed to motion to suspend the rules,
Right.
but y'all stopped me in the middle of that.
Okay.
And then you're supposed to motion on the
Okay.
amendment. Okay. So now I need a motion on the agenda as amended. Motion by Mr. Lawrence.
Second.
Second by Mr. Glavin. Any more questions on the agenda? Dr. Tisdale?
No question.
All in favor? 6-0. Motion carried. Mayor's report?
I just have one item, other than I'm not sure where my mayor is right at this moment. But I think this is worth saying. The Pops Ferry Bridge is about to undergo a very important project. It involves what we call a submarine cable, or a cable under the water, which makes the bridge operate. We're down to like one strand, sort of an emergency situation here, and we're going to have to close the bridge. We're going to close the Pops Ferry Bridge to all traffic on this Friday, at 10 p.m., and it'll be closed until the work is done, but should be open by 6 the next morning. I'm sure that's going to be a real inconvenience to some of the late travelers, but it's just something. We can't have the bridge open, and we can't have it open to traffic when we're doing that work. So closed, and we'll get this out on B News, B Mail, and we'll get it out to the press. Closed this Friday night at 10 p.m., and will be closed until the work is done, but certainly open at least by 6 in the morning.
Oh.
That's all we have.
That concludes it. Thank you for the mayor's report. No departmental reports. Council reports. I'm going to start with Mr. Barrett.
Want to remind everyone that we have our Wool Market Christmas Parade 2:30 this Saturday. Starts at the Chevron on Wool Market Road, and it will end at Wool Market Elementary. It goes down Wool Market Road and Lorraine Road and John Lee Road. Also, I took part in one of the races on the Gulf Coast Marathon this weekend, and it was awesome to see so many runners from all over the country here in Biloxi. And I think I discussed this with Mike. I know that the marathon isn't just centered here in Biloxi, but the majority of the people stayed in Biloxi, and they came into town on Friday, stayed till Sunday, and so I'm sure that was a boost for our hotel rooms in the middle of the winter. But even on Saturday morning, 45 degrees, 15-mile-an-hour winds, and pouring rain, there were over 650 people running on Saturday morning, and it's people from all over the United States. So it's really cool to have all those people here in Biloxi. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Glavin.
Yeah, I just want to echo on what Councilman Barrett said. It was a great event. We picked up unexpectedly. We had a block of rooms, but then we picked up an additional over 100 rooms at our property alone in Biloxi. So it was great to see. We also had another gentleman, and Chief Boney can attest to this. I think the chief over in Hancock County, or Diamond Head, befriended a guy from England. I think he was from England. And so he was running across America making his stops or whatever, and they contacted us and asked if we would kind of, along with them, would sponsor this runner from England, which we did. And he had all kinds of posts on his Facebook page about Biloxi and the Mississippi Gulf Coast and the hospitality and the aesthetics and beauty of our coast communities. So that was really good. That's all I have.
MGM Park, was that used in the marathon, or did they do anything at MGM Park?
That was the finishing point, yes, sir.
Okay, that's all they did. No events or anything. It was just that's where they finished. Got an attaboy. Good, thank you. That's all.
Okay. That's it, Dr. Tisdale? Okay. Ms. Newman? George?
I got up early Saturday morning because it was 45 degrees, 15-mile-an-hour wind, and I looked through the window and I closed the window and went back to bed. Now, I'd like to bring up something. I had a few people complaining about the benches. I know you went through a lot of trouble, Mike, getting all that straight, but you got some bad benches out there, one on White Avenue, one on the Pass Road. I mean, are they going to take care of them and fix them up? Those benches with the advertising on. I mean, did they go out there regular check? They got two of them pretty bad shape. There's probably more than that, but
yeah, we're going to review all of them. There's a number of them that we're recommending just removing, period. And I'm not sure where they are in that thing, but talking about the concrete benches.
yeah, concrete benches. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's time for us to just discontinue that whole thing. It's more trouble than it's worth. It's not really doing anything good.
We're taking a pretty hard look on it, and
1 year, we're some months into a 1 year contract, and then it's over.
Say again?
The contract is for 1 year, Councilman, so when we extended the contract, we only gave 1 year, so we think that that's gonna be the end of it.
So that when it comes back up, we can look at that.
The contract also had an exhibit that, when it was approved, that had a bunch of asterisks next to certain ones that we were recommending be removed. So I think we just need to make that happen.
Well, that's just something that a couple people called me and asked a question about it, who did in control and stuff like that. And I told them we just adjusted everything, but that's 1 year, then we can look at it again. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I just have one. I would like to call up Ms. Perryman up front. Give us a little overview, a little quick overview of the Martin Luther King program that's coming up that we have on the agenda. We know it's coming back to MGM Park and the community here.
Good afternoon. My name is Alitra Nunley Perryman. I'm the chairman of the Coastwide MLK Committee, and we are bringing the parade and Battle of the Bands back to the beautiful city of Biloxi for 2019. Our Coastwide lineup includes a gospel concert, an Aretha Franklin tribute to Dr. King. That will happen in Pascagoula. We will have The Village, which is a social justice symposium that includes a youth summit, a women's conference, and a men's conference at USM in Long Beach. We will be here Sunday for a conversation about race with James Meredith, who integrated Ole Miss. And then Monday, we will have a parade through Biloxi that ends at the stadium, at the MGM Stadium, with the Battle of the Bands. Right now, we have 7 bands confirmed. We will also have James Meredith at the stadium giving a speech. The Battle of the Bands will also feature a health fair at the stadium.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Questions?
Oh. Yes, and this will be great for the community award too, bringing us back. So we appreciate all the work and all the effort granted in that area. Okay, we're going to move on to the citizens' comments. We have a total of 45 minutes, 3 minutes per person. And would anyone to my left would like to come up and speak? Anyone on my right? And I don't think there's no one in the back. So we're going to go ahead and conclude citizen comments, and we're going to start in 4, ordinance. Lucy, ordinance A.
Ordinance amending certain provisions of Article 2 of Chapter 5, Buildings of the Code of Ordinances.
So I move it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lawrence, second by Dr. Tisdale. That is the first reading. Move on to 5, the consent agenda. I need a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Tisdale, second by Ms. Newman. I'm going to start with Mr. Barrett first. You have any questions, comments? None. Mr. Glavin? None. Dr. Tisdale?
None.
None. Ms. Newman? None. George?
I like to do B, C, E, F, G. No, I don't have a problem. No problem.
That's a miracle. And I also have none. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call for the questions. Exceptions will be second. Call for the question. All in favor? Any exception, Mr. Barrett? Mr. Glavin?
I have none.
Dr. Tisdale? Ms. Newman? George?
E, F, G. No, I don't have it.
And I also have none. Consent agenda passed unanimously. Code enforcement, Mr. Creel.
The first item on the agenda is item A, Patricia Davis, 310 Main Street. That case has been resolved. Item B on the agenda, Gulf South Equity Investments, LLC, 764 Highland Drive. That case is still in violation. Okay, that's all the pictures.
Okay. Anyone here to speak on behalf of Gulf South Equality Investments? Gulf South Equality Investments. Consider that matter closed.
Item C on the agenda is Thang Nguyen, 277 Nichols Drive. This property is still in violation.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of Thang Nguyen? Anyone here to speak on behalf of Thang Nguyen? Consider that matter closed.
Item D on the agenda, Toshiko Reed, 1891 Pops Ferry Road, Lot 24, still in violation.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of Toshiko Reed? Anyone here to speak on behalf of Toshiko Reed? We'll consider that matter closed.
Item E on the agenda, RW Development LLC, 1817 Beach Boulevard. That case has been resolved. Item F on the agenda, Folk C. Tran and Alan Wong, 0 Old Highway 67, parcel number 1207J-001-014.000. This property is still in violation.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of Tran and Dong? Anyone here to speak on behalf of Tran and Dong? We'll consider that matter closed.
Jerry, I'd like to ask you a question, Jerry. How much money have we put out to clear this property, and how much you've collected back on taxes? Could you give us a report on that? How much it actually costs us to clear all this property? How much you actually collected back in taxes?
Okay. All of it eventually gets paid back. I mean, you know, we budget $100,000 a year for cleanup of properties, and then when we assess that amount back to the taxes on the property, whether it's that property owner or somebody else picking it up for tax purposes, the special assessment gets paid. So,
So we're not out anything.
no, we recoup that money every year. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if a tax purchaser goes in there to pay the taxes on it because the principal owner didn't pay them, then they have to pay that special assessment because the tax assessor will only accept one check that covers everything on it.
Would you have a problem with all the ones that goes into foreclosure?
Yes, sir. It works the same way. We don't, in order to waive anything, let's say that we have a special assessment on a foreclosure and someone comes along to buy that foreclosure. If the request is to waive the special assessment, we would have to come back to the council to get permission to do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I need a motion on the routine agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Tisdale,
Second.
second by Mr. Glavin. Any questions, George?
Yeah, we got both of them here today. Gotta have some good news. Walt? You don't even wanna stand up this week? You always stand up. Well, we're on top of everything, but appreciate that.
That's it.
Then, you gonna give us the good news over the weekend? Well, all some with,
Did Nathan,
great attorney that flew.
did Nathan Barrett finish the race, or what? Yeah. Oh, no, the utility authority prevailed over the city of Gulfport. Gulfport has been setting aside $20,000 a month to be reimbursed back to the other members, of which City of Biloxi has about a 50% ownership of that. And so that's an additional $120,000 a year for the city over the next 6 years.
Basically, we were real surprised on the how fast it was decided. But basically, when they decided to separate, and we were faced with the contract negotiations with the new folks, the consideration was in two parts, and I think this helped in the decision. With Gulfport in the 70,000, residents where you would pick it up versus without Gulfport, and there was a 47 cents per residence difference. So I think the judge was very fast and very, straight on this is what you need, 47 times the cents per times each one of the households. So that's where the 20,000 is computed. I think we've got over 50% of that 20,000 based on divided by 47 cents, and that's how much we'll get credited to our budget for solid waste.
That money goes into the general fund, or goes back to the general fund?
It's going to go into our budget
Back into our budget.
for the utility authority. And each year, it's just an estimate. I think what is it, 11,900 annually. What is our payments? A little bit less than $1 million a month. 890,000.
That George asked.
Yeah, utility,
You said it goes back to the
everything.
budget.
So that's all for that budget. And over and under, we apply, if we're under, we can apply that to our next year's budget. We're still going to make the same 12 payments. But, the next year when we look at the budget, that money will be accrued to us based on the arithmetic of the households that we service.
How many years they gonna pay that back? How many years?
6.
6 years?
So,
Okay, Ms.
Mayor, I do have a follow-up with that. So does it require a budget amendment to do anything to get these
No.
funds back to where they need to go?
No, it's all stays with them. I mean, basically that we're going to be credited as if we were to pay it. So
Okay.
we'll be
All right, so the Gulfport has to pay it to the
Utility authority.
Utility authority, and then we
utility
get.
authority pays, for the.
I'm
for
with
the-
you.
yeah.
Okay.
Against our account.
Our account is
But now, a few years ago, when we restructured the debt, and there was about $7 million less reserve. Yeah, after we refinanced, we asked for the money back. So we got our cash. Show me the money, and that came back to the general fund and spread it all over the place.
At the end of the year, we have a mechanism where we can put some back in the general fund.
Yeah, definitely. If we chose to apply it to next year's budget or give it back to us and do it again.
That was a good win for the city of Biloxi.
It's a good
Good
win.
job.
It
Good
was,
work.
it was a surprise to have it decided that fast. We
Yeah.
figured there was a lot of questions that I think Gulfport had brought up with regard to the legality of the utility authority, period. I mean, is that not right? Yeah, so it was it was
Well, do you actually think everything, since we're on this subject, is gonna stay the same? Or you think more people's gonna pull out, or they all gonna pull back in? I mean, right now, everybody has that question whether they do the.
No, I think, the future contract, which ends in 6 years, I mean, they're paying the difference, as if because we would've got a volume discount. More people in here would've caused a lower rate per household. So we're sitting there with, you know, over 50% of the households in the remaining contract. They were there about 70, we got about 40 something, 33 something, I'm not sure how many thousand. But anyway, we were much more than 50% of the remaining. So we're gonna get up our share. I mean, it's 47 cents a household is what they're,
They had 50%, we have 30, and the other ones have the remaining 20%.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Barrett? Mr. Glavin, anything else? Dr. Tisdale? Ms. Newman? I don't either. I need a motion to recess. Oh, did we vote on? Oh, we didn't vote on it. Okay, let me call for the question. All in favor? Absolutely.
Very good.
6-0.
2 minutes
Now I
left.
need a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Glavin, Dr. Tisdale. Any questions? No questions? All in favor?
I think that was a record. That was a record time. 2 minutes less than an hour.
I think we did one in 15 minutes.
When I try to cut it short, it ain't gonna go short.